Santa Clara County, November 2025. Single-family homes in my hometown of Santa Clara Valley. You know it as Silicon Valley. I'm Pat Kapowicz, your host. City by city, ranked by medium price, most expensive to least expensive. Do a special thanks to our friends at the Multiple Listing Service here in my hometown of Sunnyvale. Los Altos, population 31,000, about 6 square miles. Incorporated in 1952, the medium sales price, $4.62 million. That's up 1% from $4.55 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.6. That's down 14% from 0.7, measured in weeks. Remember, a normal market is 4 to 6 months of housing inventory, a balanced market. Days on market, 8. Same as November 2024. Percentage of list price received, that ratio, 107%. Same as November 2024. The average price per square foot, $1,913. That is up 2% from $1,881 in November 2024. Homes sold, 20, down 26% from 27 in November 2024. Homes listed, 8. That's down 43% from 14 in November 2024. 20 sales on just 8 new listings. That's the math tells the story. Demand continues to outstrip supply in Los Altos. Saratoga, population about 32,000, around 12 square miles, incorporated 1956. Fun fact, named after Saratoga Springs in New York for its natural springs. Medium sale price, $4.41 million, up 8% from $4.08 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 1.3, up 18% from 1.1 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 11, down 31% from 16 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 103%. Same as November 2024. Average price per square foot, $1,558. That's up 13% from $1,377 in November 2024. Homes sold, 18, down 18% from 22 in November 2024. Homes listed, 11, down 44% from 20 in November 2024. Saratoga prices jumped 8% year over year. That's significant appreciation in a market where homes already start north of $4 million. Monte Sereno, population around 3,500, about 1.6 square miles, incorporated in 1957. Fun fact, one of the smallest and wealthiest cities in California. Medium sale price, $3.97 million. Up 9% from $3.65 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 1.3, down 19% from 1.6 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 19, down 54% from 41 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 102%. That's down 1% from 103% in November 2024. Average price per square foot, $1,585. That's up 2% from $1,549 in November 2024. Homes sold, just 4. That's down 20% from the 5 in November 2024. Homes listed, 0. There was only 2 listed in November 2024. 4 sales, 0 new listings. Monte Sereno is so small, numbers move big percentages, but the pattern is clear. Not much comes up on the market in Monte Sereno. Palo Alto, population around 68,000, about 26 square miles, incorporated in 1894. Home to Stanford University and the birthplace of Silicon Valley. Medium sale price, $3.58 million. Down 2% from $3.66 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.8, up 33% from 0.6 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 9, up 13% from 8 in November 2024. The percentage of list price received, that ratio, 107%, up 2% from 105% in November 2024. The average price per square foot, $2,109, up 12% from $1,888 in November 2024. Homes sold, 30, down 9% from 33 in November 2024. Homes listed, 16, up 78% from 9 in November 2024. Home sellers received 107% of list price, up from 105% in November 2024. Home buyers are still competing hard in Palo Alto. Cupertino, population around 60,000, about 11 square miles, incorporated 1955. Of course, the headquarters of Apple Inc. Medium sale price, $3.39 million, up 4% from $3.26 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 1.5, up 87% from 0.8 in November 2024. Days on market, 9, same as November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 106%, down 1% from 107% in November 2024. Average price per square foot, $1,599. That's down 8% from $1,730 in November 2024. Homes sold, 12, down 40% from 20 in November 2024. Homes listed, 11, same as November 2024. Cupertino inventory nearly doubled, 1.5 months versus the 0.8 months in November 2024. Still a seller's market, but the dynamics was shifting. Sunnyvale, my hometown, where we are broadcasting, population around 155,000, about 22 square miles, incorporated 1912. Referred to as the fruit capital of the world before tech took over. Medium sale price, $2.57 million. That's down 2% from $2.62 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.5, up 25% from 0.4 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 9, up 29% from 7 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, that ratio, 109%, down 1% from 110% in November 2024. The average price per square foot, $1,618. That's down 3% from $1,663 in November 2024. Homes sold, 29, down 3% from 30 in November 2024. Homes listed, 20. That is up 25% from 16 in November 2024. Sunnyvale home sellers received 109% of list price. That's the highest in the county this month. Overbids are the rule, not the exception. Mountain View, population around 82,000, about 12 square miles, incorporated in 1902. Fun fact, home to Google's world headquarters, the Googleplex. Medium sale price, $2.53 million, down 7% from $2.72 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.4, up 33% from 0.3 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 8, same as November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 107%, down 1% from 108% in November 2024. The average price per square foot, $1,656, up 6% from the $1,568 in November 2024. Homes sold, 18, down 36% from the 28 in November 2024. Homes listed, 10, down 17% from 12 in November 2024. 0.4 months of inventory. That's about 12 days of supply. Mountain View remains one of the tightest markets in the county. Campbell, population around 43,000, about 6 square miles, incorporated in 1952. Medium sale price, $2.14 million, up 8% from $1.97 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.4, up 33% from 0.3 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 8, down 11% from 9 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 107%, down 1% from 108% in November 2024. The average price per square foot, $1,247, down 1% from the $1,263 in November 2024. Homes sold, 11, down 48% from 21 in November 2024. Homes listed, 7, up 75% from 4 in November 2024. 0.4 months of inventory, 8 days on the market. Campbell remains fiercely competitive for home buyers. Santa Clara, population around 130,000, about 18 square miles, incorporated in 1852, home to Levi's Stadium and the San Francisco 49ers, and of course the Super Bowl this year. Medium sale price, $1.82 million, up 4% from $1.75 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.6, up 50% from 0.4 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 8. That's down 27% from 11 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 106%, same as November 2024. Average price per square foot, $1,287. That's down 1% from $1,296 in November 2024. Homes sold, 31, down 3% from 32 in November 2024. Homes listed, 21, up 31% from 16 in November 2024. Santa Clara inventory up 50% year over year from 0.4 to 0.6 months. Still tight, but home buyers have more options than in November 2024. But when inventory is measured in weeks, it's clearly a seller's market. San Jose, population over 1 million, about 180 square miles, incorporated 1850, considered the capital of Silicon Valley. Medium sale price, $1.66 million, down 2% from $1.7 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.8. That's up 33% from 0.6 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 12, up 20% from 10 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 103, down 2% from 105% in November 2024. Average price per square foot, $1,009. That is down 1% from $1,021 in November 2024. Homes sold, 309, down 14% from 360 in November 2024. Homes listed, 185, down 15% from 218 in November 2024. San Jose is the volume leader, 309 sales, by far the most activity in Santa Clara County. This is where the market's pulse really shows. Morgan Hill, population around 47,000, about 13 square miles, incorporated in 1906. Medium sale price, $1.65 million, up 21% from $1.37 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 1.7, up 13% from 1.5 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 14, up 8% from 13 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 100%, down 1% from 101% in November 2024. Average price per square foot, $676. same as November 2024. Homes sold, 26. That's down 13% from the 30 in November 2024. Number of homes listed, 28. That is up 56% from 18 in November 2024. Milpitas, population around 80,000, about 14 square miles, incorporated in 1954, home of the Great Mall of the Bay Area, one of the largest malls in Northern California. Medium sale price, $1.64 million, down 4% from $1.7 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 0.6, down 33% from 0.9 months in November 2024. Days on market, 9, up 13% from 8 in November 2024. Percent of list price received, 104%. That's down 5% from the 110% ratio in November 2024. Average price per square foot, $110. That is down 7% from the $1,082 per square foot in November 2024. Homes sold, 15. That is down 12% from the 17 in November 2024. Homes listed, 6, down 54% from 13 in November 2024. Overbidding cooled from 110% to 104% of list price. Still competitive, but not as frenzied as November 2024. Gilroy, population around 60,000, about 16 square miles, incorporated in 1906. Fun fact, the garlic capital of the world and home to the famous Gilroy Garlic Festival. Medium sale price, $1.17 million. That's up 3% from the $1.14 million in November 2024. Months of inventory, 2.4. That is up 26% from the 1.9 in November 2024. Medium days on market, 37. That is up 97% from 19 in November 2024. Percentage of list price received, 99%. That is down 3% from the 102% ratio in November 2024. The average price per square foot, $525. Down 3% from the $539 per square foot in November 2024. Homes sold, 27, down 36% from 42 in November 2024. Homes listed, 15, down 17% from 18 in November 2024. Gilroy is telling a different story. 2.4 months of inventory, 37 days on the market. This is approaching buyer's market territory. That's Santa Clara County, November 2025, 13 cities. The takeaway? Most of the county remains firmly in the seller's market territory. Sub 1 month inventory in Los Altos, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, Campbell. Overbid still common in the tech corridor, but conditions vary. Morgan Hill and Gilroy tell a different story. More inventory, longer days on the market, more room to negotiate. Check out my other YouTube channel for best practices for home buyers and home sellers. Details in the description. If you found this useful, subscribe or share. Questions about a specific city, neighborhood, or property? Reach out. I'm Realtor Pat Kapowich, California real estate broker, SiliconValleyBroker.com. If you're considering a move outside of my service area, reach out. Nationwide referrals are available. Details and links in the description. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.